Still waiting. Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the Community Consolidated School District 46 Board of Education meeting for March 17th, 2021. We are a blended type of a meeting tonight. There are some that are on site. Dr. Mack and some staff are on site. Others are attending via remote. So as board president, I've determined that tonight's board meeting will be held remotely due to the continuing COVID-19 pandemic. Based the decision on the following, the state of Illinois, Governor Pritzker has declared an emergency for the pandemic. I have confirmed that all board members can participate in the meeting this evening, can hear one another, and can hear all discussions during the meeting. We have arranged for members of the public to contemporaneously hear all discussions during tonight's meeting through our website, and the link is provided on the website. Dr. Stephen Mack is present on site at Frederick School at 595 Frederick Road, which is our regular meeting location for now. All votes taken this evening will be done by roll call vote. As required by the Open Meetings Act, a verbatim recording of tonight's open session meeting will be kept and made available for the public. And we also arranged for, sorry, I gotta move my camera a little bit. We also arranged for members of the public to provide public comment through the Google Doc that is also on our website. So with that being said, I need a call to order and a roll call vote.
Wildman,
Here.
Mack,
Here.
Braden,
Here.
LaCroix,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Nash,
Here.
and Strack.
Here.
Okay, we provided a quorum. Next, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, one nation, under God, which it stands. Everybody hear me? I think I cut out. Sorry, I think my internet cut out there for a second. Okay, next I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Miller,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Wildman,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroix,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Okay, Paul, do we have anybody for immediate public comment right now? No? Okay. Anybody that does put in for public comment, we'll catch those at the end of the meeting, at the second phase. So next we have a presentation for the Student Online Personal Protection Act, or SOPA.
Chris, I was going to share the presentation, but it says I'm not able to.
Ruh-roh. Let's give me just a second and I will pull it up on another device here. Can we swap to Soup report and then come back to this? Is that possible? Sorry.
No, that's okay. Why don't we go ahead and do other reports, and then we'll come back and do this report.
Okay. First thing up, we have board reports. Does anybody have any board reports for tonight?
So yeah, I do. So first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And also, I just wanted to call attention to the fact that it's Youth Art Month. And so wanted to send kudos to our art teachers. I know I'm missing the art fair at the library this year, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Also missing our retired art teachers, and I apologize if I don't know all of them, but I do know that I'm missing Catherine Greenwald quite a bit. And then wanted to just give kudos to our D46 fine arts teachers because I had the pleasure of attending a production that former D46 students put on. They reimagined theater and used the parking lot to project their play Theory of Relativity, and it was a fantastic event. Their ability to reimagine the arts outdoors was great, and I thought it tied right back into the month, which has a theme of art connects us, and it absolutely did that. So thank you to all of our art teachers for all of your work.
Okay. I have a couple of things. First off, the Board of Education had completed the superintendent evaluation for Dr. Glickman. Dr. Mack and I delivered the evaluation to Dr. Wildman on the 1st of March, so that process has been completed. And then we got an email from ISBE about possibly applying for recognition for board governance for the school district and the school board. The document would be due in August, so I think you probably all have gotten the same email. If not, I can make sure we get all the information out. So at some point, we'd like to know if that is something we'd like to apply for the board recognition for governance. And that's all I have. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Then next would be up to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. Weidman. Well, I'll begin with just a few comments about our full in-person and remote learning plan. I wish to express thanks to the Board of Education for the trust that you have shown in our team. Moving forward without a formal vote has allowed us to move quickly and begin gathering data through our spring selection survey, which opened yesterday. And families are already expressing their desire for whether they want their children or each individual child to be on site for the last 7 weeks of the school year or remote for the last 7 weeks of the school year. So moving forward, we'll be offering full in-person instruction for our students in grades 1 through 8. That begins on April 12th. On-site time for all other programs has also been expanded. And of course, we will be continuing to offer remote learning to our students this spring as well for the families that are requesting that. And I'm actually going to hand it off now to Mr. Vipond to talk a little bit about bandwidth because that has a direct correlation to what we're doing with our new in-person learning.
Thank you, Dr. Glickman. Yes, so a month ago at our last board meeting, I shared a brief update of some of the things that we were working through with bandwidth with our return to hybrid learning. I'm happy to report that those updates that we were planning at that point have been made and have shown a significant improvement across our district. And at this point, as we continue planning for April 12th, we are planning in the tech department to make further upgrades to our bandwidth capabilities. So hopefully over spring break, we'll take the upgrades that we just made and increase those even more to continue to have technology support everything that's happening in our buildings. And we've been fortunate that this is one of the early conversations that we've been having about some of the ESSER II funds that you have heard us discuss briefly. We've been able to commit to this upgrade because of the ESSER II funds. So we're excited about all of that, and all of that is good news to help support our teachers and students going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Vipond, and thank you for your quick work on that. And then we're going to hand this over to Mr. Lewis. He's going to be talking with us about summer school and the plans that we have in place right now regarding summer school. I do want to note that at our next board meeting, the intent is for him to bring a full report to the board at the start of the board meeting with kind of all of the plans in place. But we thought he'd talk for a few minutes about where we are.
Thank you so much. So for a group of us have been working on summer school to start making all those plans to bring our students in over the summer. So we have a number of continuing programs and then one new one. So as Dr. Glickman shared, we'll be doing a short presentation at the next board meeting outlining all the final details. We still have a few decisions to make about some of the programs, but just wanted to share some generalities about what we're working on. So for Title I, we're offering summer school for our students at our 2 Title I schools. So that will be for our Avon students and Prairie View students. We'll be doing a survey to parents about it being remote or on-site. We're encouraging and promoting the on-site version of summer school. Transportation will be provided, and there will be no tuition costs because that's paid for out of the Title I grant. We also have a program called Adelante, and that's a program for our EL and bilingual students. We also will be working on the difference between remote and on-site. At the moment, we're scheduling that at Avon School, but depending on numbers, we may need to make that change. So by the next time we meet, we'll have more of those details figured out. And this is for identified EL and bilingual students exiting grades K all the way through 7. Again, transportation and no tuition costs. We are adding a new program this summer, and we are tentatively calling it our Summer Bridge program. And so again, the difference between remote and on-site, again, encouraging on-site, likely will be held here in this building, and we'll be identifying students exiting grades K through 7th. We're working on that identification process to identify students who, based on report card grades, attendance, engagement, and other factors, who would benefit for some summer experiences. So this is by invitation. The main focus will be on literacy and numeracy. Again, transportation provided and no tuition costs. I didn't share that the EL program, the Adelante program, would be paid for out of Title III funds, and the Summer Bridge program would be paid out of ESSER II funds as a strong component of what those funds are for. And then, as always, we will continue to have an extended school year experience. That's for students who the IEP team, through discussion, decide that it would be beneficial for some continued work over the summer. That program will be either remote or on-site. Again, we're working through that based on needs and based on information. You're hearing a theme here: transportation provided and no tuition costs, and that's paid out of the special education funds. I should have said from the beginning that our summer school program is scheduled from June 7th to July 1st, with 4 days a week of instruction for all of those days. So we've been communicating with staff. We've gotten a staff interest survey sent out, and we have a number of staff who are willing to be on site or remote or either. And so we're just all in the planning stages of the identification and then the communication plan with parents. So I look forward to sharing more information at the next meeting, but just wanted to let everyone know that we are in full planning and organizational time for all of the summer school programs.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. And I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Chris Hvac, who has a special presentation.
Yes, tonight we would like to celebrate 3 teachers who have earned their National Board Certification. The National Board Certification is a performance-based and peer-reviewed process with an emphasis on content knowledge and commitment to student learning. There are 4 components necessary to become board certified, which include completing a computer-based content assessment, demonstrating differentiation in instruction by submitting a portfolio of student growth over time with written commentary, creating a classroom portfolio which requires them to video record themselves with their students and provide a written analysis of their teaching and interactions, and through another portfolio, demonstrate their knowledge of assessments as well as evidence of collaboration with families, community, and colleagues. We have three teachers in the district who have earned their national board certification. Our most recent teacher is here with us tonight, and we'd like to get a picture of her if that's okay. We have Leanne Salas with us, and she's a third grade teacher at Meadowview. So Leanne, can you come on up and get a picture? We have a little certificate for you.
And I know that Mr. Woke read a long list of the things that Leanne had to do. I'm just going to sum it up this way. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and we're so proud of you, and you just make all of us look great. So thank you so much. Let's give her another hand.
To piggyback off that, Dr.
Yes,
Glickman,
keep going.
I know Leanne is here with her husband, and as the husband to a national board certified teacher, it is a long process, and he, great job. You should be proud of her. I'd also like to recognize two other teachers who are nationally certified, but they were certified back in 2011 and were not recognized at that time, and it is long overdue that we recognize them. They were not able to make it here tonight. We have Amy Schneider, who is an instructional coach at Prairie View School, and Julie Tiojenko, who is a general music and choir teacher at Park Campus. So congratulations to them, and we are sorry that it took so long for them to be recognized.
It's a 10-year anniversary for
10
them.
years, yeah.
And let's give them a hand as well. Thank you so much, Chris. And the last piece of the superintendent's report is simply a thank you to a administrator who's actually, today was her last day with us, and that's Jane, who many of you may have not had an opportunity to meet, but we were so very grateful to her for helping us out this year in our business office. So you may remember that we've been throughout this year having two different interim CSBOs, and today was the very last day that we'll be working with one of those CSBOs, which is Jane. We wanted to thank you so much for your help, Jane McGowan. You've really, really made an enormous difference in our school district, and we wish you the very best. I think she might be watching from home, so let's just give her a wave and a thank you. And we wish you well, Jane. Thank you. All right, and I think that's it for the superintendent's report.
Okay, so are we ready for the SOPA presentation now?
Yes, we are.
All right. And away we go.
I'm going to get my screen shared here, and Amanda, as you heard a few moments ago, Amanda Woodruff is going to join and actually kick us off. So Amanda, as soon as we get this going, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Well, good evening. So Chris and I are here tonight to talk about the Student Online Personal Protection Act, also known as SOPA. SOPA is an Illinois law that was amended in 2019. The changes made to this law now impact school districts and Illinois as well as all educational technology vendors who are working with both of these entities.
As you may remember at a board meeting back in November, I believe the board approved some additional board policy related to SOPA. So this is just kind of a follow-up to that and sharing some additional information. So before we really get started into the details of SOPA and how it impacts District 46, we thought it was first important to explain why exactly we should be worried about protecting student data. The widespread use of technology in school districts has given educators and administrators power like never before to use student data to guide teaching practices and demonstrate the success of our schools, our teachers, and our kids. However, with great power comes great responsibility. Protecting students no longer just means physically. We also need to ensure that we are protecting their data as well. If student data, which is frequently called personally identifiable information or covered information, is breached, it can lead to many consequences that can ultimately compromise the safety of our students. Therefore, because we have chosen to harness data to empower our teaching, it is now our legal and ethical obligation to protect students and their data.
So what is SOPA? With so much emphasis being placed on protecting student data over the last several years, many states have actually already taken action. SOPA was previously applied only to ed tech vendors in regards to data breach notification. Now, with the changes made in 2019 by Governor Pritzker, Illinois schools and the State Board of Education are also impacted. The amended law doesn't go into effect until July 1st of this year, so we do have time to get the requirements in place, but we are starting now. In short, the amended version of SOPA really places regulations on transparency and student data use, meaning school district, ISB, its operators must be much more forthcoming with what student data is being collected and how it's being used. SOPA also requires all parties to adhere to best security practices when it comes to student data breach protection or student data protection, as well as notifying parents in the timely manner in the event of a breach.
So what does SOPA require? The changes to SOPA mandate that by July 1st, 2021, schools must have written agreements with all EdTech software vendors in use. Districts must also make readily available via their website an overview of security practices, a description of how parents can ensure their student data privacy rights are being met, a list of approved vendors and their corresponding written agreements, and a list of any student data breaches that have impacted more than 10% of students. There's a lot packed in there, so we'll take a look at some of those a little bit more.
So what does that really mean for District 46? Essentially, it all boils down to we must change the way in which we use software and services, apps, websites, etc., by that July 1st date. Staff can no longer just find a tool that they like and have students immediately use it. Now it will need to be approved through the proper channels before it can be used. Staff will have to adhere to a list of approved software, websites, apps, etc. And if they find something they'd like to use, they'll need to request it prior. Staff also cannot conduct pilots of software without approval, sign up for free trials of software without district approval, or purchase access to software on their own for students to use. In addition to these practices, the district will have to reevaluate all of our current tools in use, free or paid, for SOPA compliance. So tools like Carnegie, Mathia, Envision, Edpuzzle. During these evaluations, there is a chance that the tools we rely on may not be something we can use moving forward. We certainly hope not, but there's always that chance.
So some of our biggest concerns, obviously, SOPA raises several of those for us. First, due to the liability this places on the district, any piece of software students use must be approved by the district before use. Staff cannot have students use a tool without it being vetted first. So this raises the question, how can we provide staff a list of approved and denied software? Also, how can we make software easy to request when staff do find something that they'd like to use? Because we not only have to review new tools, but also all of our current tools, we realize that many staff members have been using tools that we aren't even aware of. While we have a good grasp on some of the subscriptions that are paid for, new and free software is found every day and signed up for without our knowledge. And this has been going on for years. we need a way to get all of those items approved by July 1st, 2021. Finally, we are also concerned about the vendor contracts that we must gather. If a vendor doesn't agree to our contract, we won't be able to use their service. So what if a big name company such as Google or Pearson refuses to sign a contract? And what about some of the free software that we use? How can we force companies into signing our agreement if we don't even pay for their services? These are huge concerns that we have, and unfortunately this law is so new that we don't have all of the answers to these questions, but we are working towards this, and for now, we just need to continue our preparations and keep moving forward.
So with all of these concerns in mind, we can't help but wonder, how are we going to meet all of these requirements? How can we do it in one place so it's as easy for staff and easy for families to access the information? We have a solution, and it is something that I believe we may have already previewed with you.
And as Amanda just said, we've been working on a solution that is going to help solve all of these problems. So I'm confident in saying that while there are a lot of concerns, we are also a long way into this process, and we have a great plan to keep us moving forward.
And that solution is Learn Platform.
Learn Platform provides us a place where staff and parents can view the approved EdTech products for the district, as well as all of the privacy compliance components with each of those products. Staff can also use it to evaluate and compare EdTech tools, as well as make requests for access. So all of those things that we were listing as concerns can be solved using Learn Platform. Learn Platform is essentially going to be our home base for meeting all of the requirements that SOPA has set forth.
So one of the things that Learn Platform does is it provides us with a Google Chrome extension that will then gather data on the educational technology software tools that are being used in the district. And so right now, it just provides us a high-level analysis of what EdTech tools are being used by our students. It's been installed on all student devices. It's going to be installed soon for staff. And I do just want to make it very clear that it only logs educational technology websites, BrainPop, Google Drive, Edpuzzle, things like that. It does not tell us if someone is accessing Target, Amazon, Grubhub. Those things are an educational technology software, so those things we're not concerned with. We're only concerned with the educational software that's being used that will need to be SOPA compliant.
To give a quick snapshot of some of the data that has come in so far, in the next two slides will show a quick snapshot of what we've seen from that student analyzation or usage tool. Here it is. These are kind of our top 8 sites right now that our students have been logging into over the last few weeks. As you can see, most of them are Google products, and Google Meet being our #1 most used tool so far, and then followed by some other, as I mentioned, mostly Google tools in the top 8. But as we have had this extension installed for just over a month, maybe a month and a half, our last count tells us the number of educational tools that our students have logged into just in across the district, just in about a month and a half. So Amanda, I don't want to steal the thunder, but we can ask for a drum roll because we will go ahead and show this kind of the intimidating number, I guess, as Amanda and I know that we have to continue working through all of these tools. But our data and analysis at this point shows that our students across our district have logged into over 1,000 different EdTech tools. So that's where, when we talked about those requirements and some of those concerns, this is where some of that comes in, as we will have to make sure that as many of these 1,000 different tools are SOPA compliant in order for us to continue to use these tools in August.
So we will have to review all of these tools for SOPA compliance. We will have to reach out to all of these vendors to get that contract signed with us, that agreement signed, so that we are 100% sure that they are being safe with our student data.
And then finally, Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just kind of a reminder that while this is something that Amanda and I and a few others that we have recruited have been working very hard on over the past few months already, we do have until July 20 or July 1st. So that is creeping up on us quite fast, but we will continue to provide training and updates to staff. At this point, all of our staff have received a very similar presentation to this to get the background and the SOPA knowledge, and then the next portion of that training will be more about Learn Platform. And then we will launch, and we will plan to launch that district library with Learn Platform as soon as we are ready to do so. And with that, I would ask the board if there are any questions regarding SOPA.
I have one. What's the plan for shutting off access to applications that do not meet requirements starting in July?
That's a good question, and we're hopeful that we will be able to get assigned NDPA for as many of these companies and ed tech vendors as we can, but we know that just because, and kind of with those concerns, the big ones, the small ones, there will certainly be some hiccups, but the question has been asked kind of from our teachers, can we keep using them even if we don't get it signed? And the answer to that is simply if a vendor isn't willing to sign that NDPA with us, we have some concerns. Why won't they sign that NDPA and commit to keeping our student data safe? So in that case, we do need to do something to ensure that we are no longer giving them our student data. And while the last thing that we want to do is restrict our teachers and students from using tools that they want to use, we do have GoGuardian, our district web filter in place that we could use to prevent any of our teachers or students accessing those sites if we deem necessary.
Thank you.
I have a question.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Nash.
Okay. Is there plans to do some type of validation exercise to determine if it's even worth pursuing the 1,000 NDPAs with these suppliers? Said differently, do we already have licensed and properly vetted ed tech companies that are providing like kind quality tools that the 1,000 or so provide, where we could just point and steer our teachers and students to resources that are already properly vetted?
Good question.
So the majority of our paid tools, I personally do not have any concerns about. Most of them are aware of SOPA and have said whenever we need to get that NDPA signed, they're happy and willing to do so. It's the free tools that are going to kind of be our next wave of tools that we need to evaluate. The nice thing about Learn Platform is we can see, you saw the top 8, the Google Meet, YouTube, those were kind of in the top 8. It does tell us how many students are accessing the tool that gets logged. So if maybe only 1 or 2 students is using it, that might not be our highest priority to get vetted through the SOPA process. We're really looking to vet the tools that are being used most frequently by our students and staff. And then if it is a tool that we need maybe for a special ed student, 1 student, yes, those will all get vetted. But if it's just 1 or 2 students that are accessing a free website, that may not be our highest priority to go through that SOPA vetting process.
Sure, thanks.
I also wanted just to add that we are also trying to avoid unnecessarily restricting our teachers and students from using tools that they're used to using. So, particularly because we trust our teachers to be assessing a product to see whether or not it's going to be useful for their children. So if they have thought already that it would be something that was useful for students, we'd like for them to be able to continue as long as it follows this process.
There's one final part that I want to add. I'm sorry. As far as getting all of those agreements signed, this is a statewide mandate. So every district in the state of Illinois is going through this process. The NDPA is some, and I don't have it memorized, some 20-something page long agreement. We've had webinars and trainings with our attorney, our law firm, as well as all kinds of other districts across the state. And fortunately, if one district signs that or has that signed agreement from a vendor that is the full 21-page agreement, we can then, and other districts across the state can then sign on to that agreement and only commit to a certain exhibit of that agreement. So there's some benefit at this point of kind of going a little bit slower and letting some of the other districts get the full NDPA signed with some of these vendors, and then we just swoop in, send them Exhibit E, get that signed off, and then we like I said, just kind of sign on to the other district's agreement with that vendor, and we are covered that way also. So there's that benefit of kind of playing the waiting game right now and then being able to move a little bit quicker on trying to get. And I will say that in one of the staff meeting presentations that Amanda and I did, we committed to trying to get as many of these vetted and getting the agreements out to the vendors by July 1st and getting them as many of the 1,000 approved as we possibly could. So that's our goal, as lofty as it may be. Any other questions? Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next will be committee reports in the Community Engagement Committee.
Yeah, Stephen, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You can go ahead and start, and I'll finish up with the dashboard.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Freeze.
So just other than to have drop off. Uh-oh. Am I frozen?
No, we got you now, Christine.
You're back now.
Okay, I'm going to keep my camera off. All right. So March 27th, 28th, you can drop food off at any school except for GMS, and GMS families can drop off at Frederick. You just drop the food outside under wherever the boxes are, and then volunteers will be transporting the food to the Avon Cares food pantry. So that's the first one. As you know, we've got dine and shares coordinated across the district, and the next three are March 23rd benefits Avon, and it's at Bill's Pub. March 29th benefits Park, and it's at Emil's Tavern on Center Street. And then March 30th benefits Prairie View, and that one is at Culver's. And the last thing is, some board members, I've sent you copies of an organizational chart that I've been working on as part of community engagement per IASB's recommendations for what we're supposed to be doing with community connections. So if you could, I've made some of those changes, and thank you for the suggestions, and we'll send that out to the rest of the board in the hope that we can use that moving forward. And then Stephen, you want to talk about the dashboard?
I was just going to circle back to the dashboard because we've mentioned that a couple times before, and as we've developed through the Community Engagement Committee, through the pandemic and stuff, we're finally going to be hopefully moving forward with a kind of a consolidated dashboard for committee members to access all of the information that we discuss on a regular basis. So we're going to be putting that together and I think I've mentioned this a year and a half ago, although it seems like decades ago now at this point, but that it is something that's going to be an internal committee use. But we finally, I think, are going to make some room for that so that committee members who participate in the Community Engagement Committee, and even if they roll off or roll back on or however that works, will have easy access to all this community information that a Community Engagement Committee uses. So the dates for food drives, for example, or for the community fundraisers, or what each PTO might be doing at any given moment, and how the committee members are updating the committee and the board on those activities. So hopefully at one of the future board meetings, we'll be able to demonstrate how that's working. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next will be I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ms. Nash?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wheatman. I just wanted to call out two corrections for the motion for special board minutes dated February 17th. In that document, under adjournment, where it counts the yays, I wanted to highlight that, bear with me, that for the adjournment of the meeting, hold on, make sure I'm in the right file. The 217 file, that Mrs. Nash is showed as a yay, but Mrs. Nash was not in attendance for that meeting. So, so that's just one. And then the second one is for the February 23rd motion for special board minutes. The call to order just references a date of January 23rd as opposed to February 23rd. So just two like typographical things.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other corrections or comments on the consent agenda? Okay, roll call vote.
Braden,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Miller,
No, she's gonna have to dial in.
Mac,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye. Christie, you want to give a thumbs up if you're an aye? There you go, thumbs up, aye. We'll work through this. Okay, next item on the agenda is our action items. The first one is our board policies that we discussed last month. So I need a motion to approve the following board policies. 3:40 superintendent, 4:80 accounting and audits, 4:90 student activities and fiduciary funds, 5:270 employee at will compensation and assignment, 6:20 school year calendar and day, 6:340 student testing assessment program, 7:100 health, eye, dental examination, immunizations, and exclusions of students, 7:140 search and seizure, 7:300 extracurricular activities. And if I remember right, Dr. Glickman, most of these were just legal updates, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'll make the motion to approve those board policies.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mac,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Strack.
Aye.
Okay, next is a motion to approve the per diem contract of between 10 and 15 days for Christopher Wildman, Assistant Superintendent of Finance. Lynn, would you like to speak on this?
I'll be happy to. Earlier this evening, I was thanking Jane McGowan for her work with us. She's one of our interim CSBOs, school business officials. Our other school business official, Mary Whirling, who's on with us today and will be talking with us a little bit about student fees, she also will have to leave before the school year ends. Just like for Jane, she is a retired administrator, and her time is limited by state rules regarding how long she can work and how many days she can work. So Jane didn't want to leave us. I know Mary doesn't want to leave us, but they have to. And so for the last approximately 6 weeks of the school year, if we didn't employ Mr. Wildman, we would be without a school business official. And that's not a position that we can be in. So Mr. Wildman has agreed to work for us some days during those last 6 weeks. He'll also come in and do some transition days with Mary Whirling prior to that.
Okay, any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I need a roll call. Or did I do,
We need a
do I need
motion.
a,
Yeah, we need
we need a
motions.
motion in a second, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mac,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye,
Nash.
Aye.
okay. Next is a motion to approve the resolution authorizing transfer from the O&M fund into the capital projects fund. This is for work to be done for Avon, or for Meadowview Schools roof and work at Park.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Okay,
Strack,
Aye.
Mac,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
and Weedman.
aye. Okay, we can skip over unfinished business for tonight and we go to new business. The first topic is a discussion on summer projects for the district.
Yeah, Mr. Halpern?
Dr. Glickman, thank you. Mr. Weedman, thank you. Good evening, everybody. The summer projects that we are looking to handle this summer, the projects are completed to keep the district buildings running safely and efficiently, to prevent breakdowns, to minimize them, and provide energy savings. These projects are not just for mechanical equipment, but also for life safety and regular maintenance. Estimated costs are still being developed at the time. There are some that are known and are listed. Our first one that we're looking at is the replacement of 3 rooftop HVAC units that are approximately 27 years old at GMS. The estimated cost is around $300,000. It was originally planned to be done in the summer of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, has been pushed back. It will generate a ComEd incentive of approximately $2,500 to $3,000 per unit, with an estimated savings of between $1,500 to $3,000 per unit per year. There's also 2 outside doors at GMS that estimated cost is around $9,000 for protection and safety, need to be replaced. There is the replacement of the heat trace in the gutters on multiple roofs, Meadowview being one, that will be done during the time of the roof. And GMS to prevent any ice damming and any damage to be done to the roofs. Replacement of flooring at Woodview at 2 doorways going into the cafeteria. That estimated cost is approximately $10,000. An update of the alarm system at Meadowview. The painting of multiple classrooms throughout the school that is done in-house by our staff to keep everything looking clean and bright. Replacement of the roof at Meadowview, in which we have already talked about, and the repair of the roof at Park Campus, and that estimated cost is approximately $425,000, originally planned for last summer of 2020. That has already been approved by the Board of Education. And to keep in mind, that is also a grant that we have received through the state. It's a 50-50 grant where they will pay $50,000 on top of our $50,000. Over at Park Campus, we will be sealing the bricks up on a parapet wall that surrounds the HVAC equipment to prevent any water from coming into the building. And we'll also be replacing existing railings at Avon in the back of the school for ADA compliance. These are just some of the proposed plans for the summer of 2021 capital projects. Board approval for the specific items will be brought at future board meetings as needed. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Halpern?
You couldn't add anything else to the list?
Well, we could. But should we?
It's a matter of how you pay for it, right?
Right.
All right. Anybody have any questions regarding the possible summer project list? Okay. Look forward to hearing from you in the future. The next we have on our new business is discussion of student activity fees for the 2021 and 2022 school year.
Okay. And Mrs. Worling, can you speak to those fees?
Yes, I'm happy to. Thank you, Dr. Glickman, Mr. Wildman. As you well know, per board policy, the district is authorized to collect fees, not just for registration and technology, but the district can collect fees for extracurricular and interscholastic activities that students choose to participate in. As you know, in February, the Board of Education already approved the registration and technology fees for the upcoming school year. And before you tonight is a recommendation for the extracurricular and interscholastic activity fees also for the 2021-22 school year. This set of fees presented to you tonight represents the rates that were charged 2 years ago and last year as well. So in school year 2018 and school year 2019. So we are not recommending any increases. We're recommending that the fees remain stable and equal to what has been charged in the last several years for these activities. I also want to highlight that, that these fees, like registration fees, are waived for those students who qualify for a fee waiver per board policy 4140, student fee waivers. And it is predicated on the student's free and reduced lunch status. And that is, the thresholds for determining that status are specified in the National School Lunch Program. Are there any questions from the board about the recommendation for fees or the waiver process?
Mary, can you confirm that waiver does that need to be applied for, or is that automatic based on students' free and reduced lunch status?
The free and reduced lunch status does trigger an automatic fee waiver. And then we have a supplementary process where if there's an individual family who is experiencing some unique hardship that didn't qualify those children for the free and reduced lunch, they can submit a confidential application for their unique circumstance to be considered by the business office, the business official, and or the superintendent to accommodate the family and their unique circumstance.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
I'm glad to see that we are keeping the fees flat, at least over the last couple of years. That definitely helps families plan and keeps their costs down. So I'm happy to support this. Anybody else have any other comments they'd like to have, or? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go on to topics for future agenda items.
I have a couple, Mr. Wildman. So keeping with the theme of fees, at the next board meeting, we'll be bringing you pre-K tuition and transportation fees. And then tonight, Paul Lewis gave us a preview of the summer school programs, but there'll be, as I mentioned earlier, a full presentation at the next board meeting. That's all I have for the next meeting.
Okay. Christy Miller, I know you talked about having one.
Yes, and can you remind me what we talked about? I don't have it in front of me.
We've all been there.
Thank you. Sorry.
It would help if I could remember. I just remember you had one.
Yeah,
It was,
I did.
Well, the good news is there are 2 board meetings in April.
Yep.
Okay.
I have one while Christy's thinking, if you need some time, Christy. Just
Thank you.
to follow up on the legislative discussion that we had at the last meeting. I think what I'd like to do is just put together a spreadsheet of potential priorities and just start to inventory in those buckets, what could be advocated for in preparation for a discussion about what we should advocate for.
And Christy, would this be a discussion item?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And Dr. Glickman, offline, maybe we can talk about how to get your cabinet input into that too, because I think it would be really largely driven by district leadership, not necessarily the board, many of those topics. So
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, we absolutely will have cabinet members with thoughts to share about some of the laws coming down the pike. Sure.
awesome.
Christy Miller, do you need more time? I've got a topic I could filibuster with.
You know what? My mind is full of community engagement stuff, so I'm going to have to go back through emails. So go ahead and thank you.
Yeah, so I was wondering, seems like it's about time for a staffing discussion season. I'm not sure if that's going to be something that's going to be discussed at a board meeting soon, Dr. Glickman.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I think it'd be important for us to know what the board would like to see. So, Chris Wolk and I have been talking about history on this matter, and apparently, I would say up through the mid 2010s, around 2015 was the last time. Maybe, you know what? I'm going to hand it off to you, Chris, because you did the research on this. So share the background, and then the board can tell us how they want us to move forward.
Sure. The discussion came up about the making the staffing plan an action item. Last year, it was part of the budget process. But taking a look back through our discussions, last time I was able to find that the staffing plan was an action item was back in 15-16 when it was approved for the 16-17 school year. So it's something we can go back to. That's not a problem. But it seems to have come off at some point.
So just to kind of reiterate, sometime in the last board meeting or the one prior, I think at the last board meeting, Mr. Wolk presented information about staffing, but it wasn't a vote for a staffing plan. He was explaining how we were intending to move forward. And so since that last 2015-2016 formal vote, the board has approved the staffing plan truly by approving the budget when the budget gets approved. If you would like a more formal process where we bring to the board a staffing plan, we'll want to know that from the board in full, that that's what you want us to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I must have some sort of miscommunication because it might have been the plan was presented maybe when I was out of pocket for those couple weeks. I'm not sure. Because I'm used to, in the 4 years I've been serving, not an action item, but a staffing plan that's done around this time. And I think that was done also around this time last year. So if I missed it when I was under the weather for much of the month of February, I apologize.
No, that's okay, and that may be the case. And so Mr. Wolk, if you can just reshare it with Mr. LaCroix, and then take a look at it, and if it fits what you're looking for, that'll be great. If not, we can have that conversation.
It sounds good. Thank you.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and Chris might have this data. I think the reason why we voted in 15 was because we were making cuts to staff or having to RIF staff. And that's why we actually had a formal vote on it. But when we haven't had to make any cuts to move forward for the year, I think that's why we haven't any formal votes on it.
You know what, I just closed out of some of that information, but those were some years where we were having to make some riffs. So yes, I mean, that may very well be, but I'd have to go dig through some more things.
Well, to be clear, I'm not asking for it to become an action item again. I was looking for it in an advisory capacity, but it
No.
seems I missed that.
No, that's fine. You know what, I do think it was, somewhere in we're in March now, almost April. Yeah, it was in February. I'd be happy to share that with you, Jason.
If you could include me too, Mr. Wolk.
I can
because I
reshare.
missed
I can reshare it
February
to
as
the entire
well.
board.
Thank
Just
you.
reshare it with the board.
Yes.
Seems like a plan. Okay, thank you.
Jim, I remember what we were talking about.
Okay, I got it.
All right, I'm not sure if this is a good topic for the next meeting, given that I know the administrative team, all of you are working pretty hard on just getting kids back in school. So it might be May or something, but just wondering if there are any resources we can, or any kind of feedback we can give to families wondering if their kids are okay, if they're significantly behind, and just a real quick set of tools that might give them an idea of, red flags that they should be looking at, mental health or instructionally, and then what we would expect to be normal behaviors. And again, not sure that would be even available to us prior to maybe May or June or whenever, but just wondering if that can be on the agenda at some point in time so that we get an idea of where our kids are.
So can you be more specific about what you would be looking, are you asking for us to share with the board how our students are doing, or are you asking for us to provide something to parents for them to assess how their children are doing?
Jim, if I remember our conversation, it was resources for parents, similar to what Mrs. Lorenzo provided with the webinars. Just, I think some parents might be anxious to know if their kids are okay once they send them back to school. So not looking for a formal report because we haven't had standardized assessments. I think that would be difficult to do at this point, unless I'm wrong, but just something along the lines of what we had from the mental health committee.
I see Mrs. Lorenzo taking notes as we speak, and that means that she's already turning on what she might be able to do. So that's great. Not sure that will be ready. Well, okay, that will not be ready for the next board meeting. But we'll put it on
totally understand.
Absolutely, but we'll put it on a future one for sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anything else for future agenda items from the board? Okay. Next up is public comments. Mr. Lewis or Mr. Wolk, will you be doing those if we have any?
We don't have any public comments, and the form has been open since prior to the meeting.
Okay. Seeing no public comments, we need a motion to move into a closed session.
So moved. Second.
LaCroix,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Wildman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
And Mr.
Okay.
Wildman, we wouldn't be coming back into open session after closed session because there will be no other action items, correct?
That's correct. So after our closed meeting, we'll not be coming back into this forum here for open meeting. We'll just close the meeting from there. We will move into our closed session meeting now, and everybody else have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.